Somewhere, right now, a protocol is telling its investors it's been audited into total safety. And somewhere right now, a hacker is reading the exact same audit, looking for the one line the auditor got bored and skimmed. Here's the thing nobody in crypto wants to say out loud. An audit badge is not a lock. It's a cardboard medal you hang on the wall, so investors stop asking questions. Some of these guys reviewing million-dollar protocols are basically mamkin auditors with a GitHub account and $40,000 an hour, skimming a repo for a weekend and stamping "looks safe to me" on the way out. These are 10 real cases from 2026 alone. Real losses, real post-mortems, real teams that had every certificate money could buy. Ranked from a quiet six-figure oopsie all the way up to the single biggest DeFi loss of the entire year. Number 10 barely made the news. Number 1 has more audits than a Fortune 500 company has lawyers, and it still didn't matter. Let's begin. Fact 10. January 2026. The year is 4 days old. A protocol called Truebit gets hit for $26 million, and its own token basically dies on the spot. No dramatic Hollywood break-in here. Just a quiet flaw in how the system checked its own numbers. Sitting there for who knows how long, waiting for someone to notice before the team did. This wasn't some brand new experimental project either. It had been running for years, had a real community, real users. One overlooked calculation, and 2026 opened with a body already on the floor. If you're new here, subscribe now, because this list only gets more ridiculous from here. Fact 9. Next case. And this one is basically a magic trick. A platform called Ostium gets tricked into believing Bitcoin is trading at around $60,000 at a moment when the real price is nowhere close. Nobody broke in through a back door. Someone just fed the system a lie, and the system believed it completely because nothing was built in to ask, does that number actually make sense? The contract did exactly what it was told to do. It executed flawlessly. The only thing missing was a system smart enough to smell a lie. Fact 8. Now we stack up the small ones, because alone they're forgettable, but together they tell the real story. A project called Step Finance goes down when the boring plumbing underneath it quietly fails. Not the smart contract logic everyone shows off in audits. The unglamorous backend nobody puts on a pitch deck. Nobody brags about their infrastructure the way they brag about their audit badges, which is exactly why attackers keep finding it first. Fact 7. A service called Trusted Volumes becomes a case study in a mistake so basic it's almost funny. A transaction gets accepted without properly checking who actually owns the wallet sending it. Sounds like something a first-year developer should catch. Nobody caught it. Money moved. Remember this one specifically. Nobody properly checked who's really in control comes back later on this list, at a scale that ends an entire company. Fact 6. A trading platform called CoW loses control of its own domain name. Not its contracts, not its treasury, its website address. Somebody hijacks the DNS faster than the team can even post a warning. For a window of time, people trying to reach the real platform land on something an attacker controls instead. You can have the most reviewed, most bulletproof code on the entire blockchain, and none of it matters if people can't find the real front door. The lock was perfect. Somebody just moved the house. Fact 5. The 18th of April, 2026. A liquid staking protocol called Kelp DAO becomes the single largest DeFi loss of the entire year. $292 million, roughly a fifth of its whole token supply, gone in hours. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Nobody found a bug, not one flaw in the contract itself. The attackers instead went after the machines feeding information into the system, buried the legitimate ones in junk traffic until they went offline, and let everything fail over to sources they secretly controlled. Then they simply told the protocol a transfer had happened that never actually did. And the protocol, trusting the message, let $292 million walk out the door. No alarm for a transaction that size. No pause button. It just believed what it was told. Because on paper, everything looked correctly signed. Fact 4. The Kelp disaster didn't stay contained. Within 48 hours, Panic tore through the entire DeFi ecosystem as people rushed to pull anything even loosely connected to it. A major lending platform, Aave, watched its holdings shrink by roughly $8 billion as users de-risked, terrified, their own funds were sitting on top of the same landmine. Aave wasn't hacked. Aave just had the misfortune of standing nearby when the alarm went off, and an entire industry's worth of trust evaporated in a single weekend. Crypto spent years promising to replace the banking system. In 2026, it briefly had to think about bailing itself out. Fact 3. 3 weeks before Kelp, a trading platform called Drift lost $285 million. And this might be the most unsettling entry on the whole list, because it wasn't a technology failure at all. Attackers, reportedly linked to a state-sponsored hacking group, spent roughly 6 months slowly earning the trust of people who had legitimate control over the platform's approval process. Not exploiting code, manipulating humans. By the time they struck, they didn't need to break anything. They just had the keys handed to them through what looked like completely normal, authorized activity. Every technical safeguard this platform had worked exactly as designed. None of it was built to catch a person who had legitimately, patiently, earned the right to say yes. Fact 2. Remember that little slip-up back at Spot 7? Nobody properly checking who's really in control of a wallet? Now watch it happen at a scale that ends an entire company. Radiant Capital had already survived one significant hack in early 2024. Then, later that same year, a second hit for around $53 million. The protocol limped forward for over a year, trying to rebuild trust with its community. In 2026, it finally gave up. The organization behind it formally shut down, unable to recover from the damage. And here's the detail that should make your skin crawl a little. By the time the project folded, investigators estimate the original stolen funds, laundered through layer after layer, had grown to more than double their original value. Radiant Capital isn't remembered as the protocol that got hacked. It's remembered as the protocol that got hacked, survived, and then quietly died of the aftermath. Fact 1. And now, the case that makes every other entry on this list look almost innocent. Because this is where the cardboard metal metaphor stops being a metaphor. A lending protocol called Venus Protocol keeps a public archive of its security reviews. Not 5, not 10. Somewhere between 70 and 80 separate audits, re-audits, contests, and reviews, done by basically every major name in blockchain security you could put on a resume. This wasn't a protocol that skipped its homework. This was a protocol that turned security review into a full-time institutional habit. In March 2026, it got hacked anyway, for a little over $2 million, through a manipulation of one of its markets. Here's what turns this from unlucky into darkly funny. Post-incident analysis found the team had received 3 separate independent warnings pointing at this exact same weakness. A finding from their own security contest. An earlier, smaller incident hinting at the same flaw. And a direct warning from their own community. 3 signals. 1 vulnerability. And the protective limits that could have stopped it were never made mandatory before the attack happened. 70 or 80 audits didn't fail because nobody was watching. They failed because watching and acting turned out to be 2 completely different things. 10 cases. A quiet flaw nobody caught in time. A protocol that trusted a lie because nothing was built to question it. A stolen domain name that mattered more than a single line of code. And a company with 80 audits that still didn't see the door with the sign that said, "We'll fix that later." The pattern never changes. Only the number of zeros does. Which one actually surprised you? Number 5? Number 1? Tell me in the comments. And if you want more real stories, the headlines buried under the next news cycle, that's what FACTXED does every week. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.